everyone, it's Caitlin from ReallyBigPlant. I've had a disaster with my house. So thankfully nobody's hurt, everyone's okay except for my house. I encountered my first problem of being a homeowner, I guess, and had a really bad thing happen with my bathtub. And now my house is in a chaotic state of being in between demolition and construction, and my plants are unfortunately definitely being affected by some of the work that's having to be done.
Really big plant.
So this is a plant channel. Let's talk about how this is affecting my plants first and foremost. Long story short, I have some water damage, and the way that it's affecting my plants is that I've got a huge dehumidifier in my house drying out the air, which is directly at odds with the super high humidity that all of these tropical plants really want to be in. So I've only really recently started to feel like I've been settling in with my plants here. I don't really have that much furniture and haven't really figured out where a lot of my plants go, and I had started spreading them out on my first floor, and now this is a major setback because I had to move all of my plants around again, and it just feels like this is gonna take forever to get my plants what they need. About a week ago, my husband and I were gonna go take a bath. It had been a long day. We had gotten some stuff done with our house, and we went up to go use our big bathtub, which we actually haven't taken a bath in yet, which is crazy because it's a big, beautiful bathtub and we just haven't done that yet. We hadn't been bath people before because we never really had a bathtub. So anyway, we were gonna go take a bath in our bathtub, and I went to go turn on the hot water, and when we turned the handle, the whole knob just blasted off and water started gushing up towards the ceiling. I've never seen anything like this happen before, and it was pouring down the walls and pouring down all around outside the bathtub. My husband and I were trying to jam the handle back onto the hole, and finally realized we should just go shut off the water, but we had a big water explosion. And so we got out all of our towels, we wiped up everything, cleaned everything up. We managed to somehow stop the water from coming out of the bathroom and cleaned everything and thought we had finished the job after a really traumatic incident. And we went downstairs and saw water pouring from the ceiling from the light fixtures. We have these canned lights, which are built in, recessed into the ceiling basically, and water was dripping out of several of the fixtures onto our couch and the floor. So we ran and got buckets or containers, whatever we had, and towels, and we're just trying to catch the water and contain things and dry things down there after we thought we'd already solved the problem. And we realized that we had a way worse issue than we had initially thought. Basically, a lot of water leaked in between our first and second floor. So the bathtub that I had turned on is on the second floor. And we got a bunch of water in between the floor of the second floor and the ceiling of the first floor, and it was dripping through. So we had to shut our water off, which we had done to stop the leak, and we had to call a plumber who came out to fix our faucet thing so that we could turn the water back on. And we also that night got this construction contractor out there to do an assessment of the water damage, and part of that was that they brought in an enormous dehumidifier, which we hooked up in the middle of our kitchen and was just squirting large amounts of water into the sink about once a minute or so. It squirts water into the sink that it sucks from the air. So all of this was happening within a short time frame, and it was just so shocking. But once I saw the dehumidifier start going, it really set in that I was sucking all the moisture out of the air, and it was definitely going to affect my plants. I ended up putting some big googly eyes on it to try to make it a little bit more fun. And actually, when the contractor crew came back, one of the guys was super into the googly eyes, and at the end of the demo day was like, "Can I have these?" And so he took them off the machine and I let him take them home. So basically we had a bunch of water damage in our ceiling, and the drywall was bubbling up, and you could see where each individual panel was because there was water pooling on top of the drywall. So we had to get that all taken out, and now there's a huge hole in the ceiling. Basically, I have the living room completely partitioned off that section where my TV is and where there's that little fireplace and stuff is completely blocked off. We can't access it right now because the leak was like over the center of that area kind of. So they put up these big plastic sheet walls and they took out a hole of the ceiling. And so now we've got this open hole there, and they sprayed some kind of like antibacterial stuff so that mold doesn't form. Luckily, there was no insulation in between because I don't know why they didn't put insulation, actually. I've always thought that it was kind of loud. You can hear the footsteps between the floors, and I see why it's so loud now. There's no insulation. But anyway, yeah, there's a big hole, and we're waiting for the contractor and the insurance company to like do their talkings so that they can come out here and fix our huge hole now and do the repairs. So in the meantime, I'm living like this with all of my plants up here, and we have to go through these zippered entries to get to our kitchen. So that really sucks, and that's what we're working with. So basically I had to move everything around. I left mainly like the large trees downstairs in my dining room area, which now contains my couch because we had to move that out of the living room. So I guess it's working in my favor that I didn't really have a dining room table or that much furniture. Basically that first night, I was really upset about everything and didn't really take that much action. I think I took a couple of plants upstairs, but figured it wasn't going to be that bad. But by the time the second day hit, we already noticed that some of the plants were looking shriveled up, crispy. So I was trying to water them. But basically over the next few days, while we were waiting for our insurance company to come out and assess the damage, and we were waiting for the contractors to get us in their schedule and figure out when they could come back and take out the ceiling and see how bad the damage was, we were going to have this dehumidifier running. So I started to move all the plants upstairs with my husband, and we basically brought every plant that was carryable easily up from the first floor to the second floor. And it sucks because the second floor is completely carpeted, and I didn't want to have too many plants up here, but now every single one of my plants pretty much is upstairs. So I would have to say that I love the way that this monstera looks. I think this is gonna stay up here. This is the one that I had next to the couch down there, and it wasn't getting enough light. I like the way it looks. I think it might actually end up living here. I used to have a bunch of plants on this landing here, which I moved. My couch is over here in the space that used to be my dining room. Last time I was showing you my bird of paradise and stuff right here. My TV and stuff, fireplace was over there before. This is where I had the gigantium last time I was showing it to you. And then this whole bar over there now just has Cheetos on it. I'll show you where I'm keeping the rest of the plants. Got the door toweled. Try to keep some of the humidity in. Got it blocked on the other side. And then I've got plants in here where, oh, it looks like my humidifier ran out. I need to refill that. But yeah, the gigantium's in here now, and Dieffenbachia's in here. Okay, so the big monstera over here, besides looking awesome, has this leaf. So this was the newest leaf that was like not fully developed, or was still kind of like young as I was moving, and I wasn't really sure what was going to happen to it, and it never really developed properly. It's kind of like really thin and just like a little bit sickly. It's a little bit of a pale color. And then the leaf that came out after that, that grew here, it was like coming out, I think, a little bit right when we were moving. Like it was like a tiny baby leaf up against the stem, and it got a little bit squished, but the rest of the leaf has developed really nice and beautifully. So I'm hoping now that I've moved it into this location that it's going to put out some really happy big leaves over by this window. It's probably going to try to face that way, so we'll see what happens. Looks like I don't really have a new leaf coming out yet, but I think it's going to be really happy here. A bunch of things weighting this down because it's really unstable now that it's on the carpet. So I've got this jug of water and a weight from some workout equipment and also a big rock. So yeah, I had this pink princess philodendron right up against the window before, with the shade cloth in between, as in the curtain. But I ended up moving it back this way when we brought the big monstera up here, and it was falling over, so I attached it to this TV stand. The plan is to get a TV up here eventually. So basically for the first week that we were waiting to figure out how bad the damage was, I didn't run humidifiers. I just didn't want to be making the problem worse. I did decide that I was going to try to consolidate all of my plants into just a couple of rooms. My priority was to make sure that the walls of my house dried out, and I didn't want to be undermining the work of the dehumidifier by adding a bunch of humidity back into the environment. So I chose to not run humidifiers for my plants, even though I knew that they were going to be suffering, just because we needed to prioritize getting the house dried. So until I knew how bad the damage was, I didn't really turn on any humidifiers. I did move my little pitcher plant and some of my sensitive anthuriums upstairs and tried to group them together. And once they did open up the ceiling and contained the moisture area and contained where they kept the dehumidifier, I did start running a humidifier for my sensitive plants. The one pitcher that I showed you last time, I think, stopped growing. Should we go take a look at it? Maybe let's go look at it. I'll show you. So this is my little office room. I don't have a desk in here because I like to do my work on the floor, but sorry, I'm trying not to swoop my camera around so much, but I just can't help it. I don't know why I'm so swooshy. I'm really sorry. I know some of you have said it makes you feel kind of nauseous, and I don't blame you. It is nauseating to me too while I'm editing, and I really wish I didn't swoosh around so much. I'm trying to calm down, be less swooshy. So this is the little pitcher I showed you last time, and it hasn't grown at all, but I do have another leaf over here growing a little thing. Really messy in here. I wasn't planning on showing you this room, but that's okay. I've got this anthurium that I showed you last time, I think, and it really crisped up once the dehumidifier was introduced. So the pitcher plant hopefully is going to be okay. I don't think this pitcher is going to grow anymore because it just completely stopped growing, but hopefully some new ones will grow, especially now that I've got a humidifier here. I've got this going in this room. I do want to get them out of here kind of soon because there shouldn't be a humidifier in here. This is where I have all of my electronics. I've got my computer and all of my camera equipment and stuff. So yeah, this is where the kitchen plants ended up though. So I've also got the vining propagations over here on cutting boards because we brought them up in such a hurry. So yeah, that's what's going on. Oh, something exciting that I wanted to show you. There is a silver lining. Well, this isn't really related, I don't think, but I'm having a really exciting plant thing happen. My Christmas cactus, or I think they're actually technically Thanksgiving cacti, they are flowering for the first time ever. So I've had them since 2019, so we're on to year 4 of having these in my collection, and they have never, ever, ever, ever flowered for me, except for when I first got them and they were in flower. So I potted them all together, I don't know, ages ago in a plant chores video, and I moved them here and I stuck them back behind these other plants and just completely forgot they existed. And my husband actually noticed the blooms through the leaves of my pineapple plant. There's one really bright pink bloom that appeared, and on the other side I've got some white ones forming. So it looks like my Thanksgiving cactus or holiday cactus chose its holiday, which is actually Valentine's Day. It's making pink and white flowers early February. But yeah, this is the first time it's ever flowered for me. My theory is that it's never been dark enough where I've lived for the bloom cycle on these plants to be triggered in the winter time until I moved out here, and at nighttime it actually gets pitch black. You can see the stars, and it also means that there isn't ambient light coming through my windows even when all the lights are off that prevent these plants from blooming. So I always lived right in the middle of San Francisco, and there's always street lights on and a good amount of ambient light coming in through the windows where I used to live. And I had tried one year keeping the Christmas cacti or the holiday cacti by the window, and they never bloomed. And then the next year I moved them closer to my kitchen, which at the time was in a really dark spot in my apartment, and I left them there for like a year thinking that they would bloom that time, but they didn't. So then I moved them back by the window, and the following year they also didn't bloom. So this is such a pleasant surprise for me to see these flowers on here. They're kind of stuffed behind this plant, but I don't think I really want to change the setup right now because something is working. I have in this cup here this really shriveled bit of Christmas cactus that I did find just on top of the pot. I have this vague recollection during unpacking and moving that one of these segments broke off, and I think I remember just dropping it onto the pot, and I never did anything about it. It's weird how much I can't quite remember, but we were just so busy during that time and I interacted with all my plants. I don't really remember what happened, but I do remember thinking, oh, there's a propagation that I should take. And that was months ago. So this has just been sitting on top of the other Christmas cacti that are planted in the pot, just been getting more and more shriveled over time. And I didn't realize it until I was looking at the flowers a couple days ago. And this is actually forming flower buds on here, believe it or not. So I don't know if I rescued this in time. There are roots in there, but I'm not really sure if this is gonna be able to rehydrate. I've like never seen the Christmas cactus be so thin you can basically see through the leaves. So I don't know if this is gonna come back, but if even one of these flower buds makes it into a flower, that would be really cool. So I'm just keeping my eye on this. So my plants are experiencing some dry air, and I was trying to combat that by keeping them really well watered and by just like watering them, but it's not the same thing. It's kind of like in winter when it gets really dry, you can like drink as much water as you want. It's not gonna keep your skin from chapping. Hopefully we should be out of this construction period soon. So we're still waiting to hear back from the contractors and the insurance company to figure out when we can get them back in here to do some rebuilding. So while this has been really undesirable in terms of things that could be happening right now, I'm just really thankful that nobody's hurt. You know, things could have been a lot worse. The water damage apparently isn't even too bad. So as far as disasters go, I suppose this is pretty mild because everyone is healthy, no one is hurt, and for that I am always thankful. All right, everyone, that is gonna be it for this video. I would love to hear from you if you've ever had to deal with something similar. This has just been a completely new and crazy experience for us to try to deal with construction and having all these contractors in and out of here, and I guess the perils of owning a house. Things took a turn for the problematic pretty quick. So yeah, thankfully we were able to get our water shut off. We're just trying to keep a positive attitude and not get too upset over this big disaster and the huge hole that we've got in our ceiling now. So hopefully we can move past this within a couple of weeks and try to get back into settling in. So this has just been another big setback. I feel like it's been taking me so long to settle into this house, and this has just been another thing. Hopefully you don't have anything like this going on in your life right now, and I hope that you are having a better week than I am, and I hope that your plants are bringing you joy, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye.